Hey guys, Arm&Gun here tonight with the Kel-Tec KSG. This thing is honestly, almost a dual shotgun. If you guys are going to be stuck with one firearm, this is a pretty dandy option, to be honest with you guys. So let's we're going to go through this thing in a bit more detail here. We're going to talk about the controls and ergonomics, the operating system. This thing has a ton of interesting features packed into this thing, so we're going to cover those as well. Then even the trigger, we're going to go through the specs in general, but also the trigger. I'm going to show you guys that. The thing is actually pretty darn nice. Talk about a couple other variants of this thing, some other models that Kel-Tec offers the KSG platform in, the history briefly, just very briefly, and some growing pains that it had a little bit, my thoughts on it, some things I've heard about it, and then finally a big old safety disclaimer for attaching foregrips to this integrated polymer rail here, and some alternate solutions for you guys, as well as some sweet aftermarket options. But will that all come in time? Again, shooting this thing and taking this thing apart. Stay tuned. Tomorrow is going to drop the shooting video. We have some fun with this thing. Take it head-to-head with some other platforms as well, just to compare recoil and things like that. And then 2 days from now, we'll drop that field trip video. You guys can see me take this thing apart. Just what you basically need to do for basic maintenance, cleaning, and the like. All right, guys. So controls, ergs. This thing is all ambi, all day long. It's a shotgun. Shotguns generally are, manual action shotguns are generally ambidextrous for the most part. But so this guy features a cross-block safety, S for safe on this side, F for fire there. You've got a uniform or an ambidextrous action bar release right there. Nice placement inside the trigger or just outside the trigger guard there. That's always really nice. So just depress that. That allows you to unlock again the action bar, cycle that action, put it back in a battery, and then it is locked up again. Repeat as much as desired until you're fully satisfied. It's always a fun time racking pump action shotguns. So moving it back then, we actually have the magazine. This is a bullpup, right? So the action is kind of taking place behind the trigger mech. So we have our action back here. So let's look at this thing here. We have our, basically, if you guys can see, this is kind of an odd angle for my camera setup here. But we got our, basically this is where you chuck shells in. I'm not going to load it because if I load it, I'm in kind of trouble with the law. So we're going to just ghost show that there. That's where these shells go in. There are 2 ports. You have to cycle it, this little selector over to decide which tube you want to run it through. Because again, there are 2. So there's one on the left side, one on the right side. Each tube holds 7. And here you can see them at the front here. So we got our big old muzzle, and then we got tube 1, tube 2. Each one holds 7. Throw another one in the front to get a total of 15 rounds in this thing. And that's 2 3/4 inch shells. So the way this thing works is you have 1 tube, that runs dry, click, flip the selector over, you have another 7. Really cool. Or you can mix and match if you run 2 different types of rounds. That can get a little bit confusing in the heat of the moment, so I would train and be well aware of what you're doing before playing with that in any kind of serious role. Like I wouldn't run like less than lethals in one, lethals in the other, and then without serious training, trust yourself to know what's what. So anyways, that's kind of a tangent. But for pump action shotguns, which this thing is, it actually works with a wedge lock bolt way up in here. Pretty cool little system. I will give you guys more of a demonstration of how this thing runs tomorrow in the shooting video, just because I can actually cycle a few through it. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool the way it works. Really effective. And Kel-Tec, again, those guys are innovative masterminds. They come up with some weird stuff, but this KSG I think is probably one of their best designs to date, and it's been with us for a long time. This thing debuted, just jumping ahead to the history component, this thing debuted in 2000, or at least was produced since 2011. And yes, there were some growing pains. Not all the guns were hot out of the box, but it seems like, through Generation 2 and through these current guns, they are rock solid, ready to kick ass. So definitely a strong contender again for that all-in-one gun. So apart from being a pump, it's also a bullpup, which means that, again, the action is behind the trigger group, and you get a super compact package for what this thing is. So let's just bump the camera out here for a second, and boom, bonus gun, which is coming again prematurely. I'm getting my video all out of order here. This is a Kappa triple threat. This thing has a 12-inch barrel, and this thing is a ton of fun. Quick spoiler, I'm going to shoot this thing tomorrow as well. You guys can see that in the video. These things go head to head. And look at that, the Kel-Tec KSG with its 18.5-inch barrel 15 round capacity, comes in shorter significantly than this 12-inch. Look at that. It's like a whole shot shell shorter. Full shot shell shorter. That's gonna be my unit of measurement today, and it's kind of a fun tongue twister as well. Full shot shell shorter. Anyways, that's pretty cool. So again, that's why this is super fun. And again, for the short barrel shotgun that it is, so satisfying. Love this thing. Kappa makes good guns as well. Just as a quick throw that out there. But oh man, Kel-Tec. You guys do some cool stuff out there in Cocoa, Florida. So as I was saying, 18.5-inch barrel. That's crazy to cram in this small little package that is only 26.1 inches overall length. That is beautiful. The trigger on this thing, honestly, is actually super good. Let's give that guy a run here. Check this out. A little bit of take up, boom, crisp break. See, when I pull that trigger, this action bar automatically unlocks. Reload. That's your reset. It's got a little bit of a reset, but not much. It's quick. It's very positive. You hear that thing go ka-tang, and then boom. So it's actually, it's kind of a noisy affair, but hey, it's a pump action shotgun. It should be noisy. It should be aggressive, menacing. All those things for when it goes bump in the night. Other models available of this thing. Well, there's the KSG 25, which, if you didn't know, holds 25 rounds, 12 plus 12 plus 1 versus the 7 plus 7 plus 1. But it also goes out to like here, so keep that in mind. It's basically, sweep the streets with that thing, because you could literally, it's long enough to attach a broom on the end, and then, you can bear with me on that. Anyways, then on the cool side of things, there's some shorter versions. There's a slightly shorter one. It's basically just an SBS kind of a patrol version. I think it's actually called the Kel-Tec Patrol or the KSG Patrol. Then there's the KSG Tactical NR, which is kind of stupid looking, but I get why they did it. They did it for the US market so that it's SBS ready. Basically, it comes with the full 18.5-inch barrel, but the receiver is chopped back to here. Everything's small, compact. And then once you file your Form 1 or whatever not Form 1, but whatever the thing is you guys file, when you guys comes back, you guys can chop off the barrel and it's good to go. Well, they also make, thankfully, a factory SBR, because that's their SBS. That's what I want up here in Canada. That thing is up down here. It's got a little foregrip, a little integrated light, all kinds of cool, and definitely need one of those. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and then they just all sold out, and they weren't available, which was sad. But then I got this guy, and we're happy, we're rolling, we're here. So may as well start out with the OG in these things. Anyways, then we'll break into the other cool stuff. So guys, the way this works is actually really smart, and it actually gets rid of all that bullpup mush. So when you pull the trigger, actually, what happens is the center little bar that's supporting the, basically that's locking these springs and putting tension on these springs, that's allowed to drop. That's treated like a traditional hammer, as far as I can tell. I mean, I haven't ripped this all apart. I don't really want to do that. Knowing Kel-Tec, there's a million springs and pins, and that's kind of a cheap shot. They're really smart, and this is a really clever system, but I want to explain it here. And so I think that's a traditional hammer dropping, and that immediately lets these springs then retract. Their extension springs, they want to retract, and they're pulling in this linkage which pulls the hammer. So instead of, traditionally a bullpup has the hammer directly connected to a linkage that goes back to set off the hammer back here. Kel-Tec has done something super clever, super innovative, and they've brought that back here, and then they've allowed a secondary feature, like the secondary action. These springs, they store that energy, potential energy, and then that in turn reacts on the spring or the hammer here through the linkage and sets out the round. Super smart. I'm kind of geeking out right now because that's was definitely a very smart way of thinking around that problem. Good job, Kel-Tec. Anyways, I just want to show you that, guys. Thought it was super unique. Not a lot of guys go inside the Kel-Tec like that, and that's a really unique feature. Good on these guys for doing that. So my thoughts on this thing. I've already kind of shared them as we've gone through this video. I do think this thing is kind of a almost do-all shotgun. I don't know why. Again, I played with one about 4 years ago. Thought it was really cool, but wasn't quite sold. I wanted to grab that DP12. The version of this that's made by standard manufacturing has got 2 barrels. And then you go bang, bang, pump, bang, bang, that one. Super cool gun, but it's bigger, it's heftier, it's bulkier. Honestly, the Kel-Tec is sweet, and I'm kind of sorry that I waited so long, and I got this one, and I'm like, why did it take me this long to get this shotgun? This is just, I really dig this thing. So I do think that it's a great dual-purpose shotgun. It's super compact, super light. If you want something even lighter, a pound lighter, you get the KSG 7, whatever. That new version that they released, it's got the stupid carry handle on it, but the good news is you can take that off and replace it with a rail. Just all kinds of good stuff. And if that wasn't enough, there is now a lot of aftermarket support for this platform. So I'm happy to pass on the high-tech. I've actually looked into a lot of high-tech upgrades. I really want a bunch of those. And there's another one that starts with an M. I don't want to say because I don't want to butcher their name. But there's another company out there as well that does a lot of upgrades for these things. But I'm like, for high-tech anyways, they make this cool howitzer-style muzzle brake that I have to have that thing. They make some cool side saddle options for this thing. They make an extended rail. I think they do some other things as well. But overall, there are some good options. Another good option someone can consider is the shell deflector, which actually beat up my wrist. Not bad. I didn't run that much ammo through this thing, but I did feel it on a number of occasions, and it did scratch me up a little bit on the day of, just from the empty shells being chucked under here and coming into contact with your wrist. So that is one thing to consider with this platform when you're doing that, is that those will pop out at you. Otherwise, guys, all I can tell you is it's a sweet little rig. I would recommend running an optic on it as opposed to just irons. You got a pretty short sight radius here, which is going to be, indicative of most bullpup designs. Again, when you got your hand right here and you got your face right here, you've only got so much opportunity to pick up a rear and a front sight and get a long line of sight, that long tangent. But throwing an optic just makes it all kinds of fun. And I think an optic on a close quarters combat style shotgun anyways makes a ton of sense. You just have way faster target acquisition, nice big sight picture, and I think it's the way to go. It's super visible even in low light conditions, and I think it's just it's a great option. So if I wasn't using this Eotech, I'd probably throw an aim point on there on a bit of a riser or something to that effect. These guns also are great value. I think they used to be, like, MSRP was like $1,000 when they first came out, but now they're down in that 700 range, 750, even less if you go with the KSG 7. So just it's a good time. If you haven't had the pleasure of running a good KSG, again, there are some lemons out there. I'm not going to apologize for that, but if you haven't had the pleasure of running a good one, go out there and try it. I'm definitely digging it. And again, I haven't had any of those short shucking problems that some other guys have said they've had. Again, I think that was more indicative of the earlier design. The original gun I shot was a bit more fussy. You had to really rack this thing in case, to make sure that you didn't short shuck it and then it didn't load up one for you there. But this one has been phenomenal out of the box. And before I leave, I got to tell you about this thing. So there's been at least one dude who's bust off his foregrip, got his hand in front of the muzzle, went bang. That is a bad day. And for all you guys that like your sport hand for other activities, I would definitely keep that thing keep that thing well secured behind a good setup here. And there's only so much you can do because this is a factory polymer rail, and I don't trust it. Just with that whole image in mind, I can't trust this. Now again, jumping back to high-tech there, they make a full aluminum replacement rail. It goes on here, it bolts through like almost every single one of these slots, and that gives you a new solid metal mounting surface. And even then, I wouldn't want to mount just any foregrip to it. You don't want to mount a grip that has a really narrow profile. It's only picking up a couple of these lugs because you can snap that off. Don't run a super long one. Again, that puts more leverage on it, you can snap it off. Which in the heat of the moment, when's that going to happen? It's going to happen when you're ramming this thing back forward, boom, and then you're ready to go. So that's bad. I stuck with a fairly short one here, and it's also quite wide. It's only got one screw, it's a Tapco. 2 screws would be better, but 2 locking points, but it's wide enough and short enough that I felt, okay, you know what, I'm not going to run this thing a bunch for this video. I wanted a foregrip on here, and I was just careful and very mindful of that, but nonetheless, that's an important one for you. And I've talked enough about this thing now, so again, stay tuned for tomorrow for the shooting video and the day after for the field strip, and that's going to be that. And really quickly, got to throw that pitch out there for Patreon if you guys want to support the channel, chat with me, and so forth. Hit me up on Patreon for the small donation of $2 or $3 a month. You guys can slide into my DMs, so to speak. I do make myself available to patrons on Sundays to just talk shop or answer some questions, what have you. So lots of other perks there as well if you guys look through the different tiers. And all that money goes into supporting this channel with guns, gear, ammunition primarily, and studio gear. Just try to upgrade the quality of the stuff. The next big thing that's going to be coming is, now that we've got the lighting a little bit fixed up here, is going to be some big range upgrades. So working on that here in the next couple weeks. Should be pretty exciting. Again, all that stuff comes in my own pocket, and then I just try and play catch up with some stuff here from the channel. So as best as you can, if you want to throw some bucks to enjoy the content, I love you. I really appreciate it. Anyways, that's it. Thanks a ton, guys. Arm and Gun out.